Well, thank you so much, and I don't think there's anyone in this room who will disagree with this. In this great country of ours, we have a shortage of individuals who know how to make a deep commitment to something. And in this great country of ours, we have a shortage of individuals who are also deeply committed to our country. But when we see an individual who is not only deeply committed to the country, but has done it over such a long period of time, it is awe-inspiring. So, Senator, thank you for your leadership. We're going to hopefully move on to some Q&A with Josh, only because I didn't prepare any remarks. But I will tell you how honored I am to be here with all of you. This is one of my very favorite places in the world. I just stayed at this hotel. I walked in the door, and the first thing I said to my team was, I'm so excited to be back here because not only do I love Utah, not only do I love Salt Lake City, I actually love this hotel, and I headed right into the toy store to buy some dinosaurs for my girls back home. So thank you for having me. It's really great to be here. And you have Utah's own Josh James, and so Josh, are we going to make this happen?
Let's do it.
All right. So I will tell you that Josh prepared quite a few note cards, about 20 of them, all questions, and unfortunately I ripped them all up. And I have to tell you why I ripped them up. And sorry, Josh. Hopefully you don't have more in there. Oh, jeez. The reason I ripped them up is because Josh and I have known each other for a long time. How long?
13, 14 years.
13 or 14 years. And we have a great relationship, friendship. We love each other very much, and to get to spend a lot of time with each other. And I think the most important thing that we could do over the next, 5 or 10 minutes?
10 minutes? That's all you're going to give me? I think it's 30 minutes.
30 minutes
there.
Is just to kind of express kind of the relationship that we have and how that's helped each of us become more successful in our own pursuits. And what I hope is by ripping up Josh's cards that he didn't get stuck in some stream, and instead that he will just express himself deeply and fully. So everyone, please welcome Josh James.
Thank you. Deeply and fully.
Deeply and fully.
All right, well.
Just relax.
One of the, I've actually always been meaning to tell you thank you for something. Just one thing. It's first time I met Marc. Walked into his office. I was really excited to meet this guy. He actually started his business a couple years after we started ours, but ours was just kind of floundering, and his was going to the moon. So I was really curious to try to grab some of that pixie dust or learn something. And I was in there talking with him, and I said to him, I had one thing in my hip pocket. And I said, hey, Marc, do you know that I have a bigger customer than you do? And he looked at me, and he's like, what'd you say? I got a bigger customer than you do. And he's like, no, you don't. I'm like, yeah, I do. No, you don't. I said, well, you guys just filed to go public, and unless you're not disclosing a customer that's larger than 10% of your revenue, I got a bigger customer than you do. What's your company called again? And I said, Omniture. Customer's AOL. It's almost $10 million in revenue. Who's your head of sales? Chris Harrington. You need to fire him. I said, what? Chris is right over here. I said, what? We're growing at 100%. You should fire your head of sales. There's no way you should have a customer that big and your business not be more successful than it is right now. And I was blown away. I'm like, who is this guy? But at the same time, I was like, I need to think bigger. And I was also thinking, that's the best investment I've ever had in my business because I cannot wait to tell Chris Harrington this story. And Chris grew our business 100% every year for the next 7 years. So that was probably the best investment we ever had in our business.
That's great.
But one of the things I was curious about is just...
Bet you wish you had those cards right now, huh, Josh?
No. One of the things that I've always wondered about is, and I've always tried to, as I've hung out with you, that I've always tried to kind of gather and try to learn from is something that's always been difficult for me is to think bigger. And I think big, and every year I think a little bit bigger, but you started Salesforce, and it didn't start in a basement, and it was going to hopefully do $1 million in revenue and maybe be a lifestyle business like most entrepreneurs. You're like, it's the end of software. And I never asked you this question, but how did you, where did that come from? And I'm sure when you told people, they're like, really? But you're like, no, this is the way it is. This is how big we're going to be. How'd you come up with that idea? How'd you have the confidence to do that? Because I wouldn't have.
Well, first of all, I just want to offer some respect for Josh's competitive nature. It's very important, and I think it's a huge reason you're so successful. And I know you like my 6-year-old daughter, always want to be, the first in line.
I'm getting a 6-year-old daughter comparison right now. Okay, so, keep going with it, Mark. There's something about innovation that I think is very, very important, very, very special. And I think one of the most important things that any of us can do when we're getting ready to create something, and we want to make the world better, want to improve the world, whether it's through technology, through our families, through our lives. And when we're getting ready to take that innovation and create that, make that happen, the most important thing is first and foremost to kind of take a step back. And taking a step back does something really important, which is gives you perspective. It gives you take a step back and take a look at all the opportunity that's in front of you. Technology itself is a huge opportunity because it's constantly getting lower cost and easier to use. That's certainly one opportunity, but there's a lot of other opportunities that are happening all the time as well. The world dynamics, things that are going on organizationally in your company or another company. And taking a step back, take a look at everything that's going on, and then the next step I really try to advise entrepreneurs like yourself is, we've talked about this, which is to clear your mind and make some room for some new ideas. Clear your mind, make some room for some new ideas, and our minds are pretty busy. Pretty cluttered. Right. We have a lot going on. We all have our phones in front of us. We all have emails coming through. I even have this new Microsoft Band, which is this new wearable computer connected to my iPhone, and things are getting streamed to me, moment to moment. But how do we take a step back, clear our minds, and do something that both of us have learned a lot about, which is kind of get back to a beginner's mind. Get back to a beginner's mind. Which is hard, because we all have these unbelievable life experiences. We all have all these things have happened to us to somehow kind of step back and clear it all away and say, what do I really want? Right.
What am I really trying to create? What is my deepest desire? What is my dream? And I just got out of a 3-day management team meeting with my top 50 managers, and I've Salesforce is now more than 15 years old, and every 90 days for the last 15 years, so it's maybe we've got 45 or 50 of these things. We take these guys back. We have great group, and the first thing I say to everybody in the room is, okay, everyone, let's put it all aside, and let's just ask one question: what do we really want right now?
Yeah.
And let's just get really clear about our vision. And to your point, way back at the beginning, what I really wanted was to do something big. I always believe that, people always overestimate what you can do in a year, but underestimate what you can do in a decade. I wanted to do something really big, and I said, what would be the biggest thing that I could do? Because here I am, kind of a mid-30s entrepreneur, coming out of... as the senator mentioned, 13 years at Oracle, and I said, what is my dream? What is my dream?
Going after Larry?
And, that's your competitive nature coming out, which is awesome. But that's not how I think, but I value that perspective. And we can talk about that, where that comes from, Josh, and why you feel you need to keep expressing it. But number one is... Number one is, at a big level, I said, I want to do a new technology model, cloud computing. I could see that could be something huge, in that field of infinite opportunities that I saw. So that was one thing.
But no one even called it cloud. They didn't call it even on demand. It was remotely hosted software. So how would you go from seeing something that no one's even named, and you said, here's a category that's going to kill all enterprise software?
Well, I will answer that. But I want to answer the first question before I move on to the second.
Deal.
And the first, I wanted to create something completely new, cloud computing. I want to create software as a subscription, okay, so that we're paying as we go, because, here at Oracle, the customer's taking all the risk up front,
right.
And, they're buying licenses, but, cable TV and newspapers, more, pay if you're successful. Don't pay if you're not successful. And 3, we put 1% of our equity and 1% of our profit and 1% of all of our employees' time, exactly as the senator said, on day one, the first day we started Salesforce, March 8th, 1999, into a 501c3 foundation called Salesforce Foundation. It was very easy because there were no employees, we had no equity, and there was no products. So, but that said, it was clear that if we actually accomplish these kind of audacious goals, and that our big visions and big dreams actually would turn into reality, that we certainly wanted to give back in a material way to the world and make things better as we became more make things better as we became successful. And those are really the 3 things. And when I added all those things up, I looked at the software industry, which at that point was honestly the opposite of all 3 of those things, and said that would be the end of software, and the creation of a whole new industry, and to inspire a new generation of entrepreneurs and a new generation of values around what is possible and what can get created in the future for the technology industry, and we're still pursuing that. Here we are, 15 years later, still talking about that. So that is kind of where it came from, and that was how it got created.
Well, it reminds me of one of the more poignant moments in my life was something you facilitated after I sold my company and left Adobe. I was trying to figure out what to do next, and had donated some money to a university, to BYU, and it was an interesting experience. I was, able to support things that they were doing, but it wasn't our ideas and had nothing to do really with other than, here's a check to support. And that same week, you called me and said, "Hey, come down and we're gonna kick off the hospital. We're gonna have the groundbreaking." And went down there, and watching you donate $100 million and seeing the impact that was having, and that it was more than money, but it was your ideas. It was the thing that made me say, I want to go try and do another one. But
and you ended up in that hospital. That was the weird hire. That was like completely strange week.
I almost died in that hospital about 9 months ago.
We're glad it was there that week.
Yeah. I did call Mark. I did text Mark at about 7:15
Hey,
in the morning.
I'm actually at the hospital. Great, thanks for supporting. No, I'm in the hospital. Well, hold on. Are you okay?
Yes, thank you for helping save my life. I appreciate that. But one thing that I was curious about, Mark, so everyone understands the value in giving. Like, we've all given, we all get the reward, but it drives you more than most that I've come across. You've done it, you haven't waited, you've done it early, you did 100 million, you did another 100 million, and I was just, what does that do for you? Like, I would love to hear, like, what that does for you, why you do that as much as you do, and as fiercely and relentlessly as you go after that.
Well, at a high level, I really want to be happy. So, nothing makes me happier than giving. And the real joy in your life, can only be achieved by giving as much as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. And that's just the reality, okay? And I'll tell you the story if you're interested in how, I went to business school, like the senators mentioned, at USC, and I took lots of really great classes, on business marketing classes and, sales classes and accounting and all that. And and then I went to Oracle, and I was kind of working Oracle. And then after 10 years, I would say I wasn't feeling that great, okay? I was feeling kind of burnt out, a little bit upset, maybe a little grumpy. a little pissed off, okay? Just not that too excited about anything. And I did something really interesting, which I completely recommend people do on a regular basis, no matter what state they're in. I took some time off. I think it's really important to take time off. I encourage everybody to take time off every day, take a moment for yourself, number one, and then take more blocks of time so you can get that step back and get yourself back.
Right.
But number two, I took off about 6 months. And on part of my trip, I went all over the world and spent a lot of time, met a lot of really interesting people. And as part of my trip, I found a friend of mine in India, in New Delhi. And he was born in New Delhi, but he had never seen India. So I'm like, well, let's go see India. I hear this is a great country. So I ended up all over India. It was really fast, different kinds of foods and all cultures and things I had never seen or experienced before, and ended up in a little grass hut. And we were in a little city called Trivandrum, which is in a region of India called Kerala. And what's kind of unique about this region of India is that it's a matriarchy. The women kind of are in charge, which is probably how it should be in this country. And well, we probably would have a lot less problems. But and the thing is, we are and so the gurus, India's got a lot of gurus. So the gurus in India, in this part of this region, are all women. So here we are with this woman, and we're in this grass hut, all kinds of crazy incense going on, and so it was just like right out of a movie. It's like a movie, and so Arjun is about to start a new company, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what was going on. He whips out his business plan. He starts going through the whole presentation, and I thought, he was going to ask her to invest in his venture capital fund. And then at the end, she said, Arjun, this is really amazing, all the changes you predict that are going to happen in the world, the change to cloud, the social computing and mobility and computers everywhere. But at the end of the day, just remember this, to do something for other people, because that's what people are really going to actually benefit from. Yes, you can build a great product. Yes, you can build a great company, but get out there and do something for other people, okay? And, Arjun kind of put his business plan away, and we were heading out, and it really stuck in my mind. And about a month later, I got a call to come to something called the President Summit for America's Future. And someone who's become a good friend of mine now and is on my board of directors, Colin Powell, who's a great American, was chairing the conference. The 5 living presidents of the United States were there. Nancy Reagan was representing Ronald Reagan. It was 1997, and it was like a room just like this, but everyone was a CEO of a Fortune 500 company except for me. And I'm like, why am I in this room? And Colin Powell got on stage, and he said, okay, everybody, your country needs you, and we all need to get our companies focused on doing more for others. And I really took a step back, and I said, wow, that is like what I just heard on my trip. And so I went back to Oracle, and I started trying doing philanthropy inside the company. And it was, I was working in schools in the mornings and doing my day, building software in the afternoons. But it was really hard to get all of our employees involved. And I kind of have this revelation, when we start the company, we need to do this day one so that people know this is really important to me, and that I'm going to have the biggest impact if I can really I'm going to hire thousands and thousands of people. Now Salesforce has 15,000 people, but I didn't know that, in 1999.
Right.
But for each one of those 15,000 employees that we have today, and everyone that has been through our doors and gone on to other companies, their first day of employment, they, here's your office, your cube, your phone. But that afternoon, they went out and they did something for other people. And the message was this: you're not at Oracle anymore. You're not at Microsoft anymore. You're not at SAP anymore. You're not at Adobe anymore. You're in this new company, and you're going to do something for other people. And that's what we do here. And you're going to take a percentage of your time. You get 4 hours a month paid time off, 6 days a year. Here's a volunteerism app. Everybody can collaborate, get together, and let's all go do this together. So now 23,000 nonprofits running our services for free. We've given out almost 1 million hours of volunteerism back to the world through our employees. And we've been able to give out, soon it'll be $100 million in grants. And that, and you want to know why that's interesting? You want to know why that's so exciting? You want to know why that's so exciting? Is because it's so easy. We have all this human resource. Yes, they're building the best software in the world. Yes, they're helping companies, have better Salesforce automation or marketing automation or service automation or whatever it is that they're doing with our products. But at the end of the day, we are able to take that power that we have in our company, whatever that means, and use that in a positive way. And I know for every entrepreneur and every CEO, here or anywhere, they all know that the ability to tap into that resource, the people, the relationships, their products, whatever it is, to take some percentage of it, whatever it is to them, and to push that back out in the world, into our schools, into our hospitals, into our homeless shelters, into our immigrant communities, into our veterans, all the people who need our support now more than ever, that can really make a difference. And that's why, I do it, because I feel it strongly that this is the right thing to do and that corporations can give back. And I feel that that's as important as the new products that we're introducing. That in our company, our shareholders are very important, and our shareholders have tremendously benefited over the last 15 years. It's empirical.
Right.
But we're not just focused on our shareholders, we're focused on our stakeholders. And our stakeholders are our customers, our stakeholders are our employees, our partners like you. But our stakeholders are also all the people in the community, that we work and live with every day. And it's important that we keep our eye on the ball and everyone else is around us, because not everyone has had the good fortune that we have had, and we can do something to help others. People who are successful in business have that power. That's why they're successful.
Yeah.
Just take a small percentage and get back.
It's awesome.
That's it.
I love it. It's really cool. I appreciate you sharing that. It's fun to hear kind of the driving inner motivation for that.
I feel that for me, I was thinking about this last night, and I'll just share this with you. I think prayer and meditation are a very important part of having a happy and successful life. And, we have groups of CEOs who come together and they do prayer and meditation. And, I'm sure you know people like this as well. And I can, really encourage it. I think it's really important, whether it's in a structured program in a church or a synagogue or, unstructured in someone's home. And we had someone come and kind of give us some instruction. And I'll tell you what was interesting was that person went away and they did a lecture. And they didn't know this, but they did a lecture on their experience with us. And they came in and they said, okay, this is great. And they did it. And everyone had a great experience. And so everyone left so happy and feeling great and motivated and pumped up, and have their stress relief. And this individual said, they invited me over, and they invited me over because they want to learn, be able to connect very deeply and have more mindfulness in their life and use prayer and meditation in an effective way. And what was interesting was then he said, because they're kind of a victim of their own success, that their success is kind of impacting their own ability to be happy. And I was like watching this video, and I'm like, whoa, this is like kind of a trip. And he's like, they're success. They're super successful. And we talked to each one of them, and he also went to Google, he went to Facebook, he went to like all these great companies, and we have these executives, and he's like, they all want to be number one. And it's awesome. He goes, but what's more important? What's more important, to be number one or to be happy? Because you have to choose in life what's important to you. life is about choices, and life is about prioritizations. We all only have so much time here. So what are you going to focus on every day? How are you going to prioritize? And where are you sorted? Is happiness more important than success? Or success more important than happiness?
It's your next book right here. You need to get it written.
Well, I have a job, but that was my
you had time for 3 others.
That was my takeaway, where I was like, okay, well, I need to think about this.
Yeah.
Like, am I focused every day? Yeah, I'm mindful and prayerful, but am I focused on number one? Am I focused on being happy and my family and or am I focused on being number one? And I'll have these long kind of philosophical conversations. In San Francisco, we have 2,000 new companies in the last 5 years. We have incredible entrepreneurs. And it's an incredible environment to work and live in. And I'll say, we'll have these conversations. And the question always will come up, are you as happy as you can be right now? And then people say, well, what does it take? And I was like, well, I think it's this simple. Get out a piece of paper and make 2 columns and put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and write happy and not happy on the 2 columns. And write down what are the 5 things that make you really happy, and do more of those. And write down the 5 things that are making you really unhappy, and stop doing those things. And that, I think, is a good step 1. So
let me ask you something else.
That's and because we tend to do that about success, but do we tend to do that about happiness?
Life and happiness, yeah.
Okay.
So one of the other things I've always admired about you, I do crazy things every once in a while that would be classified as crazy. And in that same vein, you've done a lot more things. Whether it's
is this the competitive thing coming out again?
No, this is pure craziness. So whether it's been like going to the Siebel user conference, protesting it, getting the cops called on you. I say sometimes internally, if we don't get the cops called on us, we're not doing enough in marketing every once in a while. And you've done. Julie, head of PR, was helping you guys with PR back in the day, and she said when you guys launched, when you had your brand launch, you were dressed in army fatigues. You had the B-52s there, the end of software. You're in the basement. There's sales executives behind bars throwing software CDs into the toilets.
That's where they deserve to go.
I'm sure you've done some things, though, that make CFOs go, what? You can't do that. And that even other entrepreneurs would be like, no, we're not doing that. What's the most embarrassing thing you've done, or how do you get yourself to do those things when everyone's saying, you can't do that? I would love to get some insight into that, because they're also the hallmark of some of you got kicked out of Oracle, Open World, and you go across the street and do a keynote and all the press comes. Where do you get these ideas from, and how many of them fail, and how do you get yourself to do it?
Well, I wish they were all my ideas, but they're not. I will say that for Julie Delachopa, who I have a huge soft spot in my heart.
Her husband's over here. It's Kehoe now. Make sure you...
Okay. Now she's married. She was the cubicle mate of my beloved wife, Lynn, who is my key partner in my life. And she was there when what we had the really good grace to be able to do is to be able to attract in and hire a lot of really great people.
Yeah, but she said everyone thought everything was crazy, and she just kind of learned to sit back, and everyone learned to sit back and watch you go.
Well, if you haven't learned after 22 minutes, I am a little crazy. So it's really just an expression probably of that creativity.
Which one are you most proud of, and which one was embarrassing?
Well, I would say that right here in Utah, there is a fantastic individual named Rick Bennett. And Rick Bennett is probably one of the greatest ad men of our time. And Rick Bennett and I sat and I said, Rick, I have a vision, and I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to find a kid who's about 7 or 8 years old, and we're going to dress him up in a dark blue suit and a white shirt and a red tie. And he's going to stand in front of a whiteboard, and he's going to write, like he was naughty at school, I will not give my lunch money, to Siebel. I will not give my lunch. He wrote it out all these various times. And it turned out to be a very effective ad because it kind of made the point of that, technology is constantly getting lower cost and easier to use. And if you're not taking advantage of that next generation technology, you're really missing out in running your business and running your life. For me, I have a new iPhone 6 Plus with me. on that little computer, which is far more powerful than the computer I first started programming on way back when I was, 14, 15 years old, I run my life from that phone. I'm sure everyone here runs their life from their phone. All the apps, I run my whole business from my phone. I don't have a computer with me when I travel. I haven't now for about 2 years. All the software we built at Salesforce is designed just to run on the phone. That's, I think, really important, to use new technology to move your life and business forward, and to differentiate yourself and to be better than your competition. And that's what Salesforce is all about. We just were awarded by Forbes magazine the most innovative company in the world for the 4th year in a row. And as part of, thank you. And I think why we do it is because of those meetings we have, 4 times a year, where we just stop and we say, what do we really want? What is really important right now? How are we going to get those things? What is preventing us from having those things? And how will we know that we have it? And those are the 5 questions we're constantly asking. That's called our V2 Mom. And I think that's a process that's driving us forward. You have to be constantly innovating. You have to constantly be thinking, what's next? Where am I going next? What's happening? That's evolution. And you have to do that in your life and in your business, and you got to go forward. And today, more than ever, because, we all see and read the articles about companies who are not going forward, or who are not only going forward, but adapting their values to modern times. Because the values to be successful today are also different.
They're definitely different. So you've talked about people a couple times. There's been some people that have some positions have swapped out a few times. There's been others that have stuck around forever. How do you figure out who the right people are for you? What do you look for? How do you identify that? You've done a really good job at getting leaders that have gone on to run big companies. A lot of them have worked for you. How do you find those people?
Well, a great example is we're, in the process right now of onboarding our 4th chief financial officer, which is always a critical job, when you're running a public company like we are. And we've probably changed our management team 3, 4, 5 times over the last 15 years. When you're bringing somebody in new, the first thing you need to do is look into their eyes, and you need to ask yourself, what do they know? Then you need to look into their heart, and you need to ask, what kind of a person is this? And then if you can bring together people that you love working with and who are experts in their world, then you're going to have a winning team.
Awesome. Well, we're out of time, but I will say that I've had a lot of personal interactions with Marc over the years, and it's been really fun to watch how he and his organization manage press better than any company I've ever seen in my life. Those relationships.
Well, you have now the best person there, so you're good on that.
Thank you. Manage marketing, branding, and then, there's been a couple of times where I thought we were the first to do something, and then a year later, Marc said, we're the first to do this. And I'm like, damn it, we need to have a big, how'd you do that?
The competitive part of you coming out again, Josh.
But I will say, there's also been a handful of times, as busy as this guy is, there's been a handful of times where I needed someone, whether it was 7:30 in the morning, going to a hospital, or selling the company, or when I left, and when there's other things, and Marc's always the first one to shoot me an email and say, give me a call. And I've given him a call a few times, and it'll be in the middle of earnings season, and he'll take 45 minutes and spend time with me as a person. So all of this stuff that he's talking about, looking people in the eyes, figuring people out, that's the lesson that I've learned the most from you. So I appreciate you coming and spending time with us.
Well, thanks, Josh, and I especially want to thank Senator Hatch for inviting me, because it takes a lot to get me to leave San Francisco, but I'll do it for a great American like Senator Hatch. Thank you, Senator.
Marc Benioff. Yeah.